Hello and welcome back to Mars. I'm Mick, we're playing Stationeers. Today we're going to have yet another look at our printer logistics. Now I've had a couple of goes at it before, and last time I said, I've got it going working just the way I want to, but as time goes by you realise it doesn't quite work the way you want it to work. I find that it'd be nice to just have a way to be able to set the number of items you want. People keep telling me that. Make it so you can actually just set a number of items and print to it. And I think, yeah, she's fine. Just push the button away it goes. And yeah, it would be just nice to not have to sit around and wait for the right number to print. Just off it goes. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have another shot at our print logistics. Now I want it to be able to print a set number, and I would still like it to pull ingots when it runs out. So order them from vending machines. I'll need a vending machine, a printer, a stacker, and probably a sorter, and we'll see what we can come up with. So get with it. Okay, so here we are. We've got our spare auto lathe set up with our chip and our computer, of course, to program it. Now I'm going to want a stacker, because I'm going to use the stacker to actually set the number of items there. I mean, you can enclose it all in a room, have a dial and other things like that, but I think no, because I like to use the search function on the printers, and I can't access that if I'm not actually using it from the printer itself. So if I put the stacker on there, facing outwards, I have a space there where I can switch it on and set the number of items I want directly from there. Hopefully I can read that from there. So I'll need a chute. I've got some of them here. Boop, done. Put them away. Right. So now we should be good to go. I'll just need to load it up with something. Oh, we're good to go. Now I can make something. Now, where's my configuration? There we go. So if we point that at you, can I tell when this one is switched on? Oh, that's the on. Let's activate it. So, iron frame. So if I switch it on, okay, activate. Lets us know whether it's switched on or active or not. Surprise, surprise. Right. So if I can read the number of items off there, which is set to probably setting. Come on. Don't do this. Try again. Right. Setting is 1. Settings, okay, so we want to read setting from that one there. We want to read activate from that one there. Now, because we're going to use that to set the number of items there. They're going to have to count. This is going to have to do a countdown. Now I can't adjust that, because otherwise as it counts down it will start spitting out items. So it's going to have to read that, find out what it is, then start counting down. But I don't want to read that every single time it prints something, or every loop of the program. So I only want it to read that when this is inactive. While it's active, it shouldn't read that. It should just count down back to whatever that was set, if that makes sense. Right, so I need to have the printer on a pin. I'll need to have the stacker on a pin. And that should be all. No, that sounds easy enough. Right. So I shall need the auto lathe, gotcha, and the stacker, gotcha. Now, printer, whoops, T96, T1, that should be all we need. So I shall also put in a counter. That'll be a register. 10 will do us. Start. Which will yield. Now we'll load into R0. No. We'll load into the counter. From the stacker, GC setting. Right. Now, so we just save to DB setting counter. Try again. Counter. And jump to the start. Confirm. Export you. Oops, switch on. Now state 1, size 1, yep. Set it to 11. Right, it's correctly reading that. So that's not a problem. So now I wanted to actually print that many items. So I can on here, I think we have an export count. There we go. So now that has I think we have a reset function where we can reset that, or I could just get the export count when it's activated and count it that way. I might just reset it. Right, so I want to right, get out of this. There you are. Auto lathe kit. Built an auto lathe. We want to say clear memory. That's the command we're looking for. Clear memory. Right. So we'll just load that into there. We shall save clear memory. Clear memory 1. So that'll tell us to, well, clear the memory, it'll reset the counters. So if it's reading it, it means it's not printing. I suppose we've got to actually make that change now too, don't we? So before we actually read it, we have got to load into R0, printer was active. Activate. Activate. So now if it is active, we don't want it to read it. So we shall, so I've active once, so we shall do branch relative not equal to 0. So if R0 is not equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. She'll skip 3 lines. Boop, done. Right, so now if the printer is active, we'll want it to count down from what the counter is. Or we want it to check and see if the output count is greater than the counter that we've loaded from the stacker. That'll do it. That'll be the better way to do it. So now we've reset, cleared the memory. Now once the printer is active, we are going to skip over those lines. So we're not going to clear the memory anymore, and we're not going to read the stacker. So I'll come down here and she'll say, so we shall have to load into R0 printer output count, no, which is export count. Right, not even close. Export count Right, so we'll load it into there, and we shall so we're going to say if the export count is greater or equal to the counter that we've loaded from the stacker, it should switch off the printer. Right, so if we say set greater than or equal to, so if R0, set R0, if R0 is equal to or greater than counter. So that means because we've reset the export count to 0 each time, we are now saying if it's greater, the export count is greater than the counter from the thing, it's done. So we shall save to the printer activate 0. So switch the printer off. No. Try R0. Right. Try again. So if it is less than or equal to, it'll return a 1, which will see put the printer on. Otherwise, once it's greater than it, it returns a false, a 0, which will switch it off. That's what we want to do. Okay, so but that'll automatically switch the printer on. So we only want to do this bit if the printer is active. So so if it's inactive, don't do this part. So branch relative equal to 0. So R0, we've loaded if the printer is active. Right, so if it's not active, or if it is active, skip over that part. Now if it's not active, read that bit, skip over this part. So if R0 is not equal to 0, we shall skip the next 4 lines. Right, so the printer is active, it'll do that until it switches itself off, then it becomes inactive and it starts doing that bit again. That should work. Export that. It knows we've got 11, 21, so it is still reading it, that is doing what it's meant to be doing. So 1, if I say give me 3 of them, press start. Now, so it still says 3, so it's not actually reading that. There's 2. You didn't switch off. You gave me 4, then switched off. If we just say set less than then. So if it's less than, it'll do it. So after it's printed that one, or it starts at 0. Or it starts at 0, okay. Yep, rightio, we'll do it, we can deal with that. What do we got? Oh, build cable coils, you can never have too many of them. Now, if I look at this one now, and my scroller's still not working, you stupid machine. Try again. Now, oh, we don't need to. Export count and input count are 0, so they are reset again. Now, once again, we are looking for 3. It knows we're looking for 3. If we press go, it's active. Yep, so the export count has changed to 1, that's what it should be doing. 2. Okay, got to 3, let's sit down and it's reset itself, right. And it gave us the 3 and it spit it out for us. Okay. Well, that seems to be working. Well, that was easy. Right, so that's all that is. If the printer is switched off, clear the printer memory and load the number from the stacker. If the printer is switched on, skip that bit, but we'll load the export count, check if it's reached the right number. If it has, switch the printer off. And that's all there is to it. So I can set the number of items I want now and just walk away and not have to worry about printing a whole room of things when I forget about it. Right, so, well that's a very short bit of code. Can I get it now to request the ingots as well? Let's see what we can do. So I'll need a vending machine and a sorter I think we need. Right. Right. Connect you up. Connect you up. You. And you. And I've run out. Right. You. Now we're done. So I shall need to label some things now. So I've got 2 printers set up. Set up the security printer. Well, only bad things ever come out of that. This shall be our lathe sorter. And a lathe stacker. Right. Cool. Now, so I'll need to put the sorter on here and the vending machine, I guess. So I shall want my lathe sorter. Lathe sorter and our vending machine in there as well, because I want to request things from the vending machine. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to do, I guess we're going to have to query the printer to make sure to see if it is missing anything that it needs for the required recipe. And we'll be doing that with our load reagents command. Now load reagents is a bit of a tricky one. We've tried it before, which is just LR, which will be in the L's probably. Right, so we need to load into a register from a device, which will be a printer, our reagent mode. So what it contains, what it requires, or what the recipe needs. So we just want to know what it is short of. So we'll be using required. So it'll tell us how many more it needs. So if it's already got enough, it'll just return 0. If it needs 10, it'll return 10. If it needs 20 and it's already got 10, it'll just return what it needs, 10. So that's the one we want. The problem with that one is it doesn't accept a hash value for its reagent, so we'll have to give it the word copper or iron or whatever there. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass, that one, but that's the way it's been built, so that's what we've got to deal with. Right, so we shall need to query it. Right, so we shall go down here and we shall load reagents from there. Oops, into R0 from the printer. Was it required? I've forgotten already. Required. Down here. Req. required iron. So do you require any iron? It's a thing of request, and it'll just give us a number of what we need there. So we'll probably have to a ingot R11. So now we can say that if it needs it, so we'll use a select. So if it's greater than 0, so R0, then we'll select ingot based on R0. So if R0 is 0, we take the first command. If it's non-zero, we take the second command. So if it's 0, we shall take, that's not going to work. No, that will work. Right. So we just need to request an ingot. It doesn't matter how many we need. It's just going to make a request of that ingot from the vending machine, a stack of them. Doesn't matter how many it needs. It's just going to get a stack because the vending machine can only release stacks. It can't release a certain quantity. So if it does require iron, we'll give it the hash value for iron, which is go. We have to do it this way. Right. Now we can get it from there. Ingots. Iron. U. Right, this will take a bit of faffing around, but we'll get there. Paste. Right. So now, if it's 0, right. If it's 0, just keep whatever's in ingot. If it is non-zero, means it does need them, set that value to iron to say that we need iron. And we'll just have to repeat that for all of the other ingots. Now we can just keep doing this one over and over again because it will just overwrite ingot. At the end of all this, we just want to come out with one of the ingots. We can only ask for one ingot at a time, so we just need to come out at the end. So as it goes through each subsequent on there, it will overwrite it and keep going. So if R is greater than 0, it'll select the actual ingot we need. If it's not greater than 0, if it is 0, it'll select actually what's in ingot. Right, let's try it that way, it might work better. So if it doesn't need it, don't change ingot, just keep it the same. That's the way the select command works. It'll save it into here. If that is greater than 0 or non-zero, pick this one. If it is 0, pick this one. Right, so if it does need it, record that comment there. If it needs more than one item, it will overwrite it, but it will request one of the ones it needs, and the next time it comes through the loop, it won't need that one there, so it'll just pick the other one until it's got them all, and it comes to the end. So we should probably set, before we start, we'll probably have to set R0 to, we'll probably have to set ingot to something which isn't actually an ingot. So we shall move into ingot, 0. Right, so now I'll just magic in the other items there and we should be good. And there we go. So now we just go through each item. Do we need iron? Yes. Do we need copper? Yes or no? Gold, lead, nickel. And yeah, we do have to go through every single one of them individually. It'd be nice to be able to set up a loop and just have a pass that via a register with a hash value in there, but that doesn't work. So yeah, get over it. So we do them one at a time, and it is a big long chunk of code. But at the end of all that, it should come out with something it needs, or it'll come out the bottom there, and it should be 0. So let's just write that to the housing. setting, was it ingot? Now I'll probably have to get rid of the other one too. Get rid of you. Confirm. Export. We're getting 0, which is what we're looking for. Now let's empty this out. Now we are saying that we need minus 404, which was copper. There we go. Chuck my copper in there. It is saying it wants copper. Close your machine, stupid. It now says it doesn't need anything. I spit the copper out. It's now asking for copper again. Right. So that looks like it's going alright. Put the copper in. Not asking for that. If I change my recipe to something else, plastic sheets. It is now asking for that. It should be silicon. So 29, if we ask for silicon, link you in there, it changes to 0. So right, it is now asking for the things it wants. Right, so now we just need to take that number that we're asking for it there and request it from the vending machine. Right, so it is actually going through this code rather quickly. So every time it rips through here, it's going to ask for an ingot again and again and again and again and again each time it goes through. So we don't want that to happen. So we're going to have to get it to request. Once it gets to the bottom there, it can make the request. Or say if it's not equal to 0, we can make the request. So we shall say, if it gets to the end here, I will say branch if it's equal to 0. So if ingot is equal to 0, it means it doesn't need anything. Back to the start we go. Right, so don't do anything more. Let's just move you back up there. Right, so if it doesn't need anything, back to the start. If it does need something, save to... I haven't put them up the top, have I? Right. See, sorter D2. Nice, the vending. There, that'll do. Vending D3. Right. So save the vending machine. It's request hash. Yes. Ingot. Right, so that should then make the request to the ingot and it should send it. Then we go back to the start. Right, so we don't want it to come straight back into this loop again. So we shall say, actually let's put it before we start. Let's go up here and see the setup. Just create a tag up there. From there we shall say move ingot to 0. Put you up there. Right, so ingot should be 0. Once it goes through all of this stuff, it needs something, ingot will not be 0. Right, so it will say up here, branch not equal to 0, ingot, go back to the start. So if it has requested an ingot, don't check again to see if it needs an ingot. So go through all that. If it needs an ingot, request it, then never go past this point. So we're just going to be going through our normal ones there. Make sure we're printing out what we need. Although it's probably not printing out if it's waiting for materials, but it'll just be keep going through the top part of the loop there until it actually receives the ingot. So we actually got to check and make sure the ingot comes in now. Right, but let's do that one. Export that. We haven't got an error. We're going good. Now, if I put some iron if I grab some copper into the machine, right there, I shall get rid of them for the time being. Now we are looking for cables. We have copper. If I eject that copper, it should need copper, and it has requested copper now. That is good, so that's working. So now the machine is open. I don't want it to be requesting ingots when it's open, because of course it's going to be empty. So we shall come into here and say, before we go and do that request item, shall load into R0 printer open. We shall branch. Is one mean open, or does one mean closed? Where are you? Open is 1. Open is 0. Right, so we're looking for 0. 0 is good. 0 is closed. Right. So branch greater than 0, meaning it's open. So if printer is open, go back to the start. Don't go any further. Don't request an ingot. Okay. So that is good. Export. Let's put you back in there. Get out of my way. Right. Try again. Now we are looking for you. Looking for steel. Looking for copper. We've made the request. Let's export you again. Cable coil. Right. Export you. Now, if we close that up, it should request an ingot. There it is. Right, so we're good. Right, so when it's open, it doesn't request the ingot. When it is closed, it does. Right, that's what we wanted. So, next up, we want it to find out when it has received. Well, we want it to actually tell the sorter to trap that. If we need copper, sorter, keep an eye out for copper. When it goes past, chuck it in the machine for us. So we're going to deal with the sorter now. So we did have the sorter set up as an item. We do. Good. Now in our setup, we have to set the sorter mode to 2, which makes it sets it into a mode where we can control it with a logic chip. Right, our ingots to 0, we're good. Now we can check that. We can check that every time, so it can go into every loop. That's not a problem. So we're doing all of that stuff there. That's printing. Now we shall go into our. Put a note there. Check the sorter. Right. Up the top, we shall check the count the printers, whatever we want to call it. Print counter. Right, and now we're checking the sorter. Right, so we shall, that's actually in a slot. So we shall load slot. Now, load slot, it will be, alright, I'm going to check the instructions on this one then. F1, you are a sorter. There you go. Now we have an import slot. Right, so we're loading slot 0, and we are looking for occupant hash. Right. Thank you. Load slot from the sorter slot load into R0 from the sorter, slot 0, occupant hash. Right. So we shall set equal. So set R0 if R0, yeah, what's in the sorter, equals ingot. Right, so if it does, set it to output, I think it is we set it to. I'm going to check again. Where are we again? We want to output, right. We want to set the output. So save. It's not a slot, so we just save to the sorter. Output. Oh, come on. Output R0. So whatever's there, it'll either send to slot 0. So if it's not equal, it's not something we want, so we send it off to the next printer. If it is what we want, we send it this way. Right. So that should work. Now, right. Confirm. Let's load up our printer again. Our doodad. You. Right, now if I take out you, now what can we do? So if I export that to you, you are asking for the copper, close you up, it should spit it out, which it does. Now if I put in silicon, which is not what it's after, it should spit out on that one there, which it does. Whereas if I put in the copper, it should split out into the other one, as it has. Good. So that's doing what we want. Right, so if it brings the right one in, it gets it. Right, so how do we know if it's arrived? Well, I guess we just have to wait and read it, because our printer does have an import count as well. What am I doing? Please. You, which is you. Now, so I can read the number that has actually come in as well. So although our reset command will reset that, if we read it before we reset it, we should be able to count any incoming items. So we're checking our sorter. Maybe we want to do that above that, because here we're going to actually clear the counter. So if we do all this above there, so maybe a quick swap around of our order here. Put you up there. And we're done. Right. So now before we actually clear the counters, let's check it. So we have got our sorter. Right, so that's all set there from the sorter. Now we want to check and see if it's been received. So we shall load into R0 from the printer. That is the import counter. Oh, come on. import import count. Right. Now as we reset it each time, it should be at 0 until it's received something. So we just want to see if it's greater than 0. Set greater than 0. Oops. Set greater than 0. Set R0, if R0 is greater than 0, so if something has arrived, we want to do something. Maybe I should just branch. So what we actually want to do is we want to set our counter back to 0, and that's all we want to do. We want to set our ingot back to 0. Yeah. Move. Yeah, ingot 0. If we set that back to 0. Once that's set back to 0, it will then go through the rest of the program and request the next ingot. That should work. So we don't want to set greater than 0. We want to just do a branch relative equal to 0 equal to 0. So if R0 is equal to 0, branch relative 2. So skip 2 lines. Move down to here. That should do us. Okay. Confirm that one. Right, let's go. Export. Let's choose something which requires a couple of items. So what have we got? Auto lathe, iron, gold and copper. Right, there we go. It's fully loaded. Now if I close the lid, it should ask for one of them. It's asked for gold. It is not asking for any more. So if I put it in here, it should divert the gold that way, which it does. And when it receives the gold, it should request the next one. It's requested gold again. You've got the gold, you dumbass. But you got the gold. Or maybe it's happening too quickly and it's just not receiving it. Right. Okay, so it knows that it's got that. Right, it's requesting everything too quickly. I suspect that it comes down to the program is just operating a little bit too quickly. The moment it receives the gold, it goes in there before it has updated everything. So, how do we do that? Well, we should just put in a yield before we get any further. Yield in there. Right. Clear out you. So I shall export that again. Now let's close that up. We're empty. It should request our gold again. And we're good. It should put it through the right one, which it does. I'll feed it into there. Right, so now it's okay, it was. So it was just a bit of a delay there. It was loading the item and then requesting the next one before it had to update any of its internal registers. So we put the copper in, it brings it to the right one, put that in there, it should request our iron, which it does. Now that one should go the right way, it does. In there, it should not request anything more because it is good to go. Right. And that should be that. That's everything I want it to do, isn't it? Well, let's hook up you and see how we go. And I have one more spare. Where did that one go? Must have been important. I think it went over there. Right, now, what's the bet I'll need it now? Okay, so that should set us whatever number of items we want. That should dispense items as we want them. And I think we're all done. So base test will be, if we load it into the other one and can pull ingots past this one, we should be good. Right, so what have we got in there? Oh, wow. Is there anything we can build there? Nickel and steel. I better put nickel and steel in there. So load that into the other one. You export. If we got in there, we have. Right, so grab you. You're working. Now if I close this up, it should request its steel and nickel. That was the steel. Comes through into the machine, it requested the nickel. And it's loaded up and we're ready to go. Wow, okay, that's that done. That's all there. Well, sometimes the vending machines have a bit of habit of not sending an item or just getting confused with it all. Because they've got multiple machines up, if you go and ask a heap of them there at the same time to request ingots, the vending machine might get it wrong. Or if they both request iron, the first machine might pinch both stacks of iron. So we're going to have another one, as we did with my old systems there. I'm going to have a way to re-request items if they don't get sent. So how am I going to do that? I shall use my important button, as I like to do, because it's important. That's the back to front important button. Try again. Turn around. There we go. Now that's our important button hooked up. So I'll have to hook that up to each machine as well. So we'll need to hook up our button. Our important button. There we go. Now we code that in. It should be pretty simple because we have our ingot set as a certain one there. So if it doesn't, it'll just keep waiting for it until it has arrived. So if it doesn't arrive, we want a way to set that ingot counter back to 0. So we'll go right at the start. We shall say we shall need to put the button in there. Oh yes. Button to D4. We shall load into R0 button setting. Now, if the button's been pressed, we just want to reset our ingot back to 0. So we shall. So we will need to move ingot. So set that back to 0 if the button has been pressed. So we shall branch relative. So if it hasn't been pressed, skip that line. So equal to 0. If R0 is equal to 0, jump 2 lines. Right, so if the button has been pressed, do that. If it hasn't been pressed, skip over that and move on to the next section. So that should be all we need to do. Right, so confirm. We shall export that to you and export that to the other one as well. Now you should be chucking a wobbly because you don't have the button. Boop. Important button. Right. Reset you. Away you go. You're happy now. So how am I going to get it to test that? If I push a button, Well, nothing should happen because nobody needs anything. Right. So I can do this by not sending out the item. So if I break that, and I shall steal the item before it gets there, we should be good. Did you request something? Oh, you shouldn't have done that. Okay, I might have to put another yield in there. Right. Okay, so before that all happens, I might move you up to there. Right, so yield, before it actually checks that the printer's open, do all that stuff. Right, that should get me where we want to be. Right, confirm that, export that into you and you. Right, and we all look like we're happy. Now, let's load you back up again. Get you out of there. Why aren't you spitting them all out? I put the wrong thing there. Anyway, right, so you're empty. Got nothing in there. You need iron, gold and copper. If I close you up, you have requested the gold. Right, let's say the gold doesn't get there. It's still waiting for gold. If I push that button, it should request the gold again, which it does. Excellent. Right, let's give you your gold, which it gets. It requests the copper. Oh, it hasn't arrived. It doesn't request gold again, does it? It's not requesting copper either. Come on. Okay, that's got it there. Right, okay, so that is working mostly. Right, but we're done. Right, so that is doing what we need it to do. So it is requesting ingots when it runs out. It is just printing what we want it to print. So once again, cable coils. We've already got gold. It hasn't requested anything more. Well, let's not ask for that many. Right, 3 of them, thank you. No, not that. I've got gold. Oh, it was still waiting for copper, wasn't it? Because I never sent it through. Okay. Send me the copper. Am I run out of copper? I might have run out of copper. Okay, so let's put some more copper back in the machine. Right, now try again. Send me the copper. Now it's sending the copper. We're good. Right, that's what it's meant to do. Now we're asking for 3, so push go. We should just get the 3. It'll spit it out and switch off. It's 1, 2, and 3, and stop. What? You are being really weird. Is there something wrong with you? Right, let's try again. There was something wrong with that stacker, I don't know, but I've just got a new one in there, and I may have messed up something when I was programming. Okay, so now we are empty. Switch on, we request copper. Copper has arrived. I press go. Once again, it should print 3. Then stop and spit it out, because it's only meant to have 3, so as soon as it reaches a stack of 3 it'll spit it out. And 3, switch off, spit out, there we go. That's what I want it to do. Awesome. So as it runs out, it'll just keep requesting more ingots, and all is cool. So you should be able to string as many printers as you want along with this. And once again, this, unlike my old one, this one won't return the ingots back to the printer, but I find I never really need to do that. While it was a cool thing to be able to do, it was a useless cool thing to do. So yeah, let's just scrap that. I will use this function of setting the counter much more than I will actually do for returning ingots to the printer. So this one sort of is more in line with what I use. So yeah, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the old one, but I think this one is going to be more useful to me. So this will be the one I use from going forward. So just a matter of retrofit on the old printer systems up there, and I think we'll be good to go. As always, we'll put this up on the workshop. Well, we're up to Printer Logistics version 3 now, aren't we? Printer Logistics version 3. I think it is an improvement on the other ones, but you know, take it or leave it. I like it. But then again, I suppose I'll use it for a little while and then change it again. But there we go. I think that is a better printer setup. Much more useful. It's actually a lot simpler too. Although I've never quite figured out how the devs have ever wanted these sorters to be used. The printers, their outputs always seem to be facing the wrong direction. It'd be nice if I could set it to have it going the other way, but the printers are all the outputs are pointing the wrong way, or they're going the wrong direction, and yeah, I've never really understood the way they intended for this to be used. But anyway, it'd be nice if there was a reverse function on the printers, on the sorters. But anyway, so that's it. That's about all we got for today. That is my new and improved, again, Printer Logistics. Do with it what you like. Modify the code as you need be, or just pull it apart and do whatever you like. So that'll do us for today. So until next time, happy building. See ya.